Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hi, I'm Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. As kids, we run around with bad habits and we don't care. But then as we grow up, we want to have good habits. We want to do things better. So we read some books and articles, and for some reason, we take their information to be the final truth. And in today's episode, we're going to look at one of those final truths and make them a little wobbly. But what did we cover in the last time episode? Because this is 2 parts, remember? In the first part, we looked at how design changes habits. The design around you changes and your habit changes automatically without you having to do anything. The second thing that we covered was the crucial link between energy and habits, and how when you have something that brings energy, automatically you feel, oh, I've got to do this, just like you would with a bad habit. Those were the first 2 parts, and now we move to the third part, which is the myth of 21 to 60 days to build a habit. It's not uncommon to hear that you have to do something for 21 days to create a habit. But the reality is that it doesn't take 21 days. It can take 21 seconds or 21 minutes. If you look at a habit as something repetitive, then it's easy to believe that it needs a fair amount of time just to cultivate it. But if you view it through the lens of energy, then anything that gives you energy, just anything, can become a habit in a relatively short amount of time. And that's because habits aren't inherently good or bad, and they might use up the same amount of energy. For instance, and let me get a little gross here, digging your nose. That might be construed as a bad habit, but if it were considered good practice, it would take the same amount of energy. And while our current society considers digging your nose to be a terrible habit, it is something that we all do, but possibly in private. That nose digging habit might be acquired in a matter of seconds. But what if we were to consider more complex habits instead? Habits that involve daily routine like exercise, writing, drawing, or any form of practice that seems to require momentum. Surely you start off slowly and then you have to build up and then eventually that becomes a habit. Which is fine. Theoretically it's fine until you realize that even professionals go into habit hibernation for reasons that have nothing to do with the habit itself. Let's take the example of Olympian Michael Phelps. If you're looking for discipline and habit, Phelps is a bit of a poster child, and that's partly because his life has been so extensively documented. Phelps, at the peak of his ability, was spending 6 hours a day in the pool, including Christmas and on his birthday. And then he went into habit hibernation. His goal was to swim in the 2012 Olympics in London. But here's what his coach Bob Bowman has to say. Michael's training was a joke. Sometimes he'd show up for practice and sometimes he wouldn't. Bowman was hopping mad. I will never allow another athlete to treat me the way Michael did during that stretch. In a book that Bowman published just recently, he said, "We kind of just tolerated each other. And there was a time in 2010 where I got so frustrated that I left and just went to Australia for 3 weeks. I was like, if you're not going to be here, I'm not going to be here." And he just shut me out. Phelps took to playing poker instead. all of those habits, that core drive to keep going, snapped, and it didn't look like it was coming back, which is really what habit is all about. We derive a certain amount of energy from habit. If you look at almost any practice, even one that's as regular as brushing your teeth, it has to make you feel better at some level, or at least avoid the pain of dental decay. Once the energy goes, it's not hard to lose the habit in under a day. But the biggest reason why habits go into hibernation is because there is a break in the pattern. Take for instance our house here in Auckland. We have approximately 300 bars of chocolate in the house at any given point in time, because we send out at least twice that amount to clients every year. For most people who are fond of chocolate, that amount seems like a siren call of temptation. And Renuka was no different. She could go through an entire bar in one sitting. But somewhere in 2016, we decided that we were going to avoid sugar as far as possible. Not completely cut it off, but avoid it. Not surprisingly, the people around us soon caught on. At birthdays, the cake is divvied up into pieces and everyone is given a piece, but we're not offered a slice. My sister-in-law often makes tiny muffins, which I enjoy, but those muffins, well, I haven't seen them for at least a couple of years. Even on a long-distance flight, the aircrew will soon learn that we aren't having dessert, and so they'll start to bring other stuff instead. Like Phelps, the habit started on one day and inexplicably disintegrated on another. So there we were waving the no sugar flag until we got to Greece. Greece, that was our downfall. The Greeks love their desserts like most other countries, but what is unusual about Greek culture is that every meal is accompanied by free dessert. Since we travel for about a month, that's about 30 lunches and 30 dinners, and that's 60 desserts. If you happen to be staying at a place where breakfast is included, then another dessert shows up without fail. And I like to draw and paint, so I find a restaurant where I can have a coffee, I can sit down undisturbed. And if the Greeks like you, and they happen to like me, then you got dessert with every coffee. Try passing up close to 100 desserts in the space of a month, and you see how a habit can break down. The same kind of concept applies to anything, whether it's writing or drawing or dancing for that matter. You can build a great habit on a course and keep it going for 3 months or more, and then the course ends and you switch tracks. If anything, that course has built skills to make you better than ever before. Your fluency is improved and the energy required to do the task is a lot lower. Hence, you should have more fun. But once the habit drops, it drops. The good news is that hibernation isn't a forever thing. Phelps got back into his routine, and once we were back in New Zealand, we weaned ourselves off the sugar. And if we want to get things done, there is no 21-day routine involved. However, it might be hard, if not impossible, to snap back where you were before. If I've stopped painting, I'll just start with some sketching for a while, so I'll ease myself in. If we have stopped walking every morning, then we don't do the entire walk, we only do half the distance. We fool ourselves, okay, let's go to the cafe instead, and we walk to the cafe. It's still 40 minutes, but we've successfully fooled our brain, and it's worked in the past, and we can do it repeatedly in the future, just at 15 minutes notice. There might be something such as a 21-day routine, but it's not going to help you get started. If you want to get something done, there is only one way to get going, and that is to do it. Life itself has chosen the most efficient route possible. And for us as a species, lazing around, eating as much as possible, digging our nose, that's what's kept us alive for millions of years. And if you're looking for a magic pill or a 300-page book that will change your habits, you might be in luck. But what is more likely to change your life is just getting out of that hibernation and getting on with the job. And that is what most self-motivated people do anyway. And that brings us to the end of these two parts. Let's see what we covered in both of them. It's summary time. The first thing that we covered was design. Now, design is the best way to change a habit. The Dutch reach is a matter of design. People reach with the wrong hand, and so they swivel their head, and as a result, they can see the cyclist coming. So that's part of the design that the Dutch have put into place while they're teaching people how to drive. In Holbox Island, Mexico, we used just a couple of bottles instead of 20 bottles. Again, it was design-oriented. And I know it's hard to say, okay, go find better design, but precisely that's what's needed. Either a membership site or a course or a system or a group that's designed to get you further is what is needed. Not just the information, not just the system, not just your motivation to get there, but something that's designed to get you there. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the energy. There's a crucial link between energy and habits. And nuance is very essential when considering habits. When a person says that they don't like exercise, what are they really saying? Maybe they just hate gyms, or maybe they hate the loneliness of the gyms and would work a lot better if they were part of a group. There is a level of nuance in every habit, and often we seem to blurt out our thoughts at the top level. For instance, I will say, I hate my morning walk, but with a great audiobook or a podcast, I will still manage to do 60, 70 kilometers a week. Or maybe you're writing and you have to write an 800-word article, and that's very draining, so take on a 300-word article. Instead of writing a business article, write a personal article. The point is, it gets you in that habit, keeps you going in that habit, and then you get that energy, even if it's a 300-word article. The reason why bad habits work is because we've got this instant energy that we get from it, which is why we consistently stay with the habit. We stay with the bad habits. But if you look at your good habits and you find the nuance in the energy, that one level down or two levels down, then you will keep the habit going for much longer than you expect. Finally, there's no 21-day thing to get a habit going. That's just something somebody made up. We have dry July in New Zealand. I don't know, maybe it's the whole world. But people who've been guzzling Chardonnay until the very last day in June suddenly stop alcohol in July. It doesn't take 21 days. Habits are decided in a matter of seconds, and implementation can take place just as quickly. As you'd expect, August sees the end of the good habit, and they're back to guzzling wine and whiskey and everything else as we head into the holidays and the end of the year. If you're hoping to create a habit over time, the good news is that you don't have to wait. You just have to decide. As with all habits, if you fall off the horse, you can get back just as quickly. Habit hibernation is a given, even if you're the most dedicated taskmaster in the world. The good news is that we can all slip, we can all go into hibernation, and we can snap out just as quickly. So what's the one thing that you can do today? I think it's the nuance. It's always been a problem for me to do any kind of exercise, and yet I've managed to do it for all these years. And the reason is I find what brings me energy within that not so great exercise routine. And if you can just look at whatever you're doing and go, how can I make this more fun? Because that's how people learn languages, and that's how people do all of these hard tasks, because they look at this difficult task and they go, yes, it's a difficult task, but let me have fun along the way. How am I going to have fun along the way? Not wait for the reward right at the end. That reward is nice, but along the way, you've got to have fun. How can you put fun along the way? That's what you've got to figure out, and that's the one thing that you can do today. And then your habit is live today, 15 seconds from now. And now let's find out what's happening in Psychotactics land. One of the biggest events of the year is the article writing course, and that's because we all want to get into this habit of writing articles, but we don't have the structure and we don't have the system, which is why the article writing self-study becomes very crucial. And on the 11th of October, you can get a copy. Now, you have to be on the waiting list because we have only 35 copies. Yes, it's digital. Yes, it's a PDF, but we only give it to 35 people at a time. So you have to go to psychotactics.com/AW goodies. AW stands for article writing goodies. So there you go. Get on that waiting list. You get a whole bunch of goodies in advance, and it helps you write. And writing is just stuff that we've always wanted to do. As kids, we wanted to write, we wanted to draw, we wanted to do certain things. We want to express ourselves, and it holds us back when we can't. And so there you go. psychotactics.com/AW goodies. The pre-sale course will also be out on the 22nd of November. Go to psychotactics.com, look for products, find pre-sale, and there is also a waiting list for that. So that's pretty much it. I think probably the best kind of action you can take is in the Taking Action group, which we have in 5000 BC. Now, not only do 5000 BC members get vanishing reports and first preference to any of these courses or self-studies, but the second thing is that there is a Taking Action group. And I use this Taking Action group quite a lot. And the reason why I do that is because otherwise I would never get anything done. Well, I would get lots of things done, but some of the stuff I just seem to procrastinate. And it's a really good idea to be in 5000 BC and to be there so that you get things done. So join us in 5000 BC. It's a place where the motto is be kind, be helpful, or be gone. To get there, you have to go to 5000bc.com, and you know how to get there. We'll see you in 5000 BC, and I'll say bye for now. Bye-bye. Still listening? One of the habits that I have, or used to have, was I used to get annoyed when I used to go to the hairdresser. And often enough, you'll find someone with this screechy voice who wants to tell you the whole story of their lives, or how they went to Italy and how they did stuff. And the habit of getting annoyed was solved by design. And so I took my noise reduction earphones, headphones, and I put them on, and then I couldn't hear anyone. So that habit of getting annoyed got removed from my system. So that's design, and design is a very cool thing. And I truly believe that a lot of the habits that we consider to be difficult can be sorted out by design. I do believe that people are stupid, but I also believe that life is hard. And that design, whether it's our own design or external design, it can solve a lot of the problems that we deal with every single day. And one of the design elements that I have is my wife, Renuka, because I could tell you another 3 stories on this podcast, but she will get so annoyed. So I have to consider that, and I have to shut up right now. So I'll say bye for now. Bye-bye.